Una travesía para descubrirnos. Buscamos conexiones perdidas.
No nos queda otra que luchar, porque no tenemos nada que perder.
Realmente es por todos.
Recorremos el mundo con Reportajes TeleSUR.
Saturdays. Only on TeleSUR.
TeleSUR is the voice that speaks up in defense of the people of Latin America and the world. For me, it is a media that offers different perspectives. It invites us to reflect and question the hegemonic narratives. From the fight against poverty and social exclusion to the defense of human rights and social justice. TeleSUR is more than just a television channel. It's a platform that celebrates our people's diversity. It inspires us to be more informed, more aware, and committed to the construction of a better world. Hello, welcome to From the South.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide Your Body. Tuesdays, only on TeleSUR. Follow the most important global events through a comprehensive perspective. With a team of journalists in 25 locations around the world to convey our people's reality. From the South. Weekdays. Only on TeleSUR.
Un canto por la América Unida. Mira, que lo escuchan allá arriba. ¡Vamos! Somos la tierra, somos la arcilla, la esperanza que brota y germina. 500 años nos han pisoteado, aquí seguimos, de aquí no nos vamos. América, 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 lindísimo continente se levanta, unido que no calla. América, América, lindísimo continente se levanta, unido que no calla. Pueblo latino, vamos pa'lante, tumbando fronteras, somos gigantes, nadie se rinde, vamos para arriba, esa tierra es tuya y también es mía. Pueblo mestizo, guerrero y solidario, aquí nadie es extraño, aquí somos hermanos. Todos los países digan presente. Venezuela y Cuba presente. Nicaragua, Honduras presente. El Caribe entero. América, 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 se levanta, pueblo unido que no calla, no se detiene. América, 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 se levanta, pueblo unido que no calla.
Soy Tupacatari, soy hueca impuro, 5 siglos resistiendo el atropello y el abuso. El avia ya la reflorece junto al alba, sigue un solo continente porque rayos nos separa. Con Sucre y Bolívar seguimos pa'lante, pa' encima latino, no hay visa que nos pare.
Desde la Patagonia hasta el Río Bravo, los latinos levantamos la mano. América, 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 lindísimo continente se levanta, unido que no calla. América, lindísimo continente se levanta, unido que no calla. México y Bolivia, Puerto Rico libre. Todo el continente latino.
We are approaching a new era. Technology trends and the massive deployment of new networks. It is just the beginning of what lies ahead in this new decade. Atomun. Travelers of knowledge, the future is today.
Who's moving the chessmen? What interests and motivate the actors behind each event? The board is deployed there. Critical move. Investigates every event from Monday to Friday. Only on TeleSUR.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real life. Fridays. Only on TeleSUR. Every year, thousands of people leave their homeland to reach new horizons. A reality of those people who struggle for their freedom. Know the diverse causes of those who live between borders. Thursdays, only on TeleSUR. Who's moving the chessmen? What interests and motivate the actors behind each event? The board is deployed there. Critical move. Investigates every event from Monday to Friday. Only on TeleSUR.
We are approaching a new era. Technology trends and the massive deployment of new networks. It is just the beginning of what lies ahead in this new decade. Atomun. Travelers of knowledge, the future is today.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide your body. Tuesdays, only on TeleSUR.
It is our duty to reverse the damage we cause to the planet. Let's recover our natural ecosystems with actions in defense of the environment. Let's keep fighting for a greener world. Wednesdays, only on TeleSUR. Every year, thousands of people leave their homeland to reach new horizons. A reality of those people who struggle for their freedom. Know the diverse causes of those who live between borders. Thursdays, only on TeleSUR.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real Life. Fridays. Only on TeleSUR.
In South Africa, 15 BRICS Summit begins in Johannesburg, where heads of the state of more than 34 countries meet to discuss partnership for mutually accelerated growth. In Japan, the government announced the discharge of treated radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. In Zimbabwe, citizens get ready to decide who will be president. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Heidi Maurel from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We're with the news, so stay with us. The 15th summit of the BRICS group started on Tuesday in Johannesburg, South Africa, and will conclude on August 24th. The day began with a business forum with the participation of ministers from the participating countries. Later, the leaders of the organization, led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, made their speeches before meeting behind closed doors. 34 heads of state and government from Africa and Asia, as well as Latin America, are expected to participate in the summit. Today, 22 countries have formally expressed their interest in joining the BRICS. The summit will address issues such as de-dollarization, the entry of new members to the bloc, and the creation of a common currency of their own. While speaking at the 15th BRICS meeting of BRICS Business Forum leaders, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa offered some statistics on the impact of the BRICS group in global economy.
Together, the BRICS countries make up a quarter of the global economy. They account for a fifth of global trade and are home to more than 40% of the world's population. This agglomeration of these 5 countries has a major impact on various aspects of global activity and life.
Furthermore, President Cyril Ramaphosa expanded on the BRICS group statistics and expressed that the new wave of protectionism and subsequent impact of the unilateral measures undermine the global economic growth and development.
As we celebrate the 15th anniversary of BRICS, trade between BRICS countries totaled some $162 billion last year. Foreign investment has played an important role in the growth of BRICS economies. Total annual foreign direct investment into BRICS countries is 4 times greater than it was 20 years ago. However, the new wave of protectionism and subsequent impact of unilateral measures that are incompatible with WTO rules undermine the global economic growth and development. We therefore need to reaffirm our position that economic growth must be underpinned by transparency, by inclusiveness. It must be compatible with a multilateral trading system that supports a developmental agenda.
During his speech at the BRICS summit, the Brazilian president referred to the development potential of the African continent.
First 2 terms, the African continent was a priority for Brazil. I have made 12 trips to Africa and have been to 21 countries. Brazil is back on the continent where it should never have left. Africa has vast opportunities and enormous potential for growth.
The Brazilian president also called attention to the climate crisis and desertification affecting the African continent.
Africa is the region of the world that emits the least amount of greenhouse gases. However, this does not mean that it does not have to face the most perverse consequences of global warming, such as droughts, floods, fires, and cyclones. Brazil and many African countries have comprehensive plans to renew their energy mixes. We share the responsibility of caring for tropical rainforests and preserving biodiversity. We share the common concern of fighting the desertification process. Environmental and ecosystem services provided by rainforests to the world, they must be paid for in a fair and equitable manner. Social diversity products can generate jobs and income and offer alternatives to the predatory exploitation of natural resources.
Russian President Vladimir Putin gave a speech at the BRICS Business Forum, which is taking place on Tuesday in the South African city of Johannesburg. Putin is participating in the event via video conference.
Working to fine-tune effective mechanisms of mutual settlements and monetary and financial control. As a result, the share of US dollar export and import operations within BRICS is declining. Last year, it was only 28.7%. In fact, this summit is to discuss the entire range of issues related to the transition to national currencies in all areas of economic cooperation between our 5 nations. The new BRICS Development Bank, which has already become a credible alternative to existing Western development institutions, has a great role to play in these efforts.
Addressing the 15th meeting of BRICS Business Forum leaders, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi stressed that India's economic growth is due to its ability to overcome difficulties and referred also to several measures taken by his government to promote India's economic growth alongside the world's major economies.
India has converted crises and difficulties into opportunities for economic improvements. In the last few years, we have carried out reforms in Mission Mode, and these reforms have helped in continuously improving ease of doing business in India. We have also reduced the compliance burden, we have removed red tape, and instead laid the red carpet. There has been a boost in investor confidence due to introduction of GST and the implementation of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. India.
For his part, the Chinese Minister of Commerce, Wang Wentao, on behalf of the President Xi Jinping, highlighted the needs of the international community.
Our world today has become a community with a shared future in which we all share a huge stake of survival. What people in various countries long for is definitely not a new Cold War or a small exclusive bloc. What they want is an open, inclusive, clean, and beautiful world that enjoys enduring peace, universal security, and common prosperity. Such is the logic of historical advance and the trend of our times.
Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok account at the TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us.
For me, TeleSUR is an example of resilience because we have faced many difficulties in all areas. We are still here. It is also creativity from our content to the strategies we use to reach the screen every day. We are more than just a TV station. We are the communication link between Latin American borders, and we showcase the reality of our continent to the world. It is a sacrifice, but it is worth it, as everything that is made to last.
It is our duty to reverse the damage we cause to the planet. Let's Let's recover our natural ecosystems with actions in defense of the environment. Let's keep fighting for a greener world. Wednesdays, only on TeleSUR.
We are here in front of the life, willing to create the way with the ideas in the destination. We are the echo of the forgotten, the fight of those who do not give up. We believe in the transcendence of stories and in the firmness of their walk, without lowering your hands and with your head held high, with the heart and the commitment in the skin, to show a fairer truth, where equality is real and not a piece of paper. TeleSUR always gives you more.
Welcome back to From the South. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, denounced the intention of the far right to sow hatred in the country and continue the destabilization attempts. The head of the state warned about new attempts to destabilize the country and gave instructions to strengthen the country's security. At the same time, he reiterated his support to Venezuelan migrants, for which he confirmed an upcoming World Conference on Migration, where he will demand international organizations to respect the human rights of migrants. Likewise, he ordered the restructuring of all the state media in order to update them according to national and global needs. Finally, he made a call to all the population to support the institution and protect the country from destabilization attempts.
Hatred and division are being sown, because extreme right-wing sectors are leading the country once again to the guarimbas, once again to division, once again to hatred, once again to the attempted coup d'etat, to call for military intervention by the U.S. imperialism on our country. It was not enough for them to impose 900 sanctions on Venezuela. It is the same sector, the same group, by confession of parts, rely on evidence. Here's the statement, it cannot be clearer. Today, the prosecutor of the Republic, Tarek William Saab, gave some statements. He acted fast, on time, and we must accompany and support to everything, the institutions, so that justice is done in Venezuela.
In Japan, the government announced that the discharge of treated radioactive water from the accident-prone Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean will be begun on Thursday, August 24th, according to the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida.
We will ask Tokyo Electric Power to prepare promptly for the start of ocean discharge based on the plan approved by the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, with discharge scheduled for August 24 if weather and sea conditions do not prevent it.
In this context, 100 Japanese protesters in front of the Prime Minister's official residence against the decision already taken by the government to pour polluted water into the sea as August 24. Despite the strong domestic and international opposition, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida announced the controversial decision after a ministerial meeting held on Tuesday. As a result, the country's fishing community, and in particular local fishermen in Fukushima, have expressed their rejection because of the new impact that the spill will have on the reputation of the area's wild catches, which are already suffering from the consequences of the nuclear crisis. In 2011, Fukushima's plants suffered a level 7 nuclear accident, the highest on the international scale of nuclear and radiological events, after the region was hit by a 9.0 magnitude earthquake and a subsequent tsunami. China again demanded Japan to stop the release to sea of radioactive water contaminated by the accident Fukushima nuclear power plant, after Tokyo announced the beginning of operations. After the announcement, the Chinese embassy in Japan denounced that the effectiveness and sustainability of the Japanese purification system is not backed by sufficient credibility and recalled that the safety report of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, does not necessarily give a green light to the Japanese government's plan. He also called on the country to face legitimate and reasonable international and external concerns and to fulfill its obligation under international law. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin urged Japan to seek mechanisms to try to dispose of the contaminated radioactive water in a scientific, safe and transparent manner and accept strict international supervision.
The ocean sustains humanity and we must not allow Japan to dump contaminated nuclear water into it. China strongly urged Japan to stop its misconduct, cancel the dumping plan, communicate with neighboring countries with sincerity and goodwill, dispose of water responsibly, and accept strict international supervision.
In this regard, the Chinese official referred to the importance of the ocean for humanity and urged Japan to abandon its plan to dump the wastewater.
The Japanese government, disregarding the serious concern and determined opposition of the international community, insisted on announcing the plan to discharge the nuclear contaminated water from the Fukushima plant on 24 August. This blatantly transferred the risk of nuclear contamination to the whole world and puts its own interest above the long-term welfare of humanity, which is an extremely selfish and irresponsible move.
In Grace, authorities reported the funding of 18 bodies in the northeast of the country, where firefighters are battling a large forest fire. Hundreds of firefighters are trying to kill dozens of places, including several that have been burned out of control for several days and have forced widespread evacuation, in the second deadly wave of fires in Greece in a month. The bodies were found near a shack in the Vanta area, north of the town of Alexandroupolis, close to Greece's borders with Turkey and Bulgaria. A disaster victim identification team was working at the scene. Late summer, heat wave breaks records as wildfires continue to rage across a swath of the continental Europe. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our website or YouTube channel at TeleSUR English. There you will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Zimbabwe, 2 days before the general elections, the population of the Southeast African country is getting ready to decide who will be the next president. The presidential and parliamentary elections on Wednesday are crucial in determining the future of the Southern African nation, endowed with vast mineral resources and rich agricultural land. Suma PF party leader Emerson Mnangagwa who came to power in 2017 after deposing Robert Mugabe with the backing of military, will seek re-election on Wednesday. Meanwhile, a deeply divided opposition, hampered by a series of court cases, has struggled to capitalize on public outrage over the near collapse of government services, triple-digit inflation and high poverty rates. In this context, on Monday, Zimbabwe's largest opposition party, the Citizens for Change Coalition, held its campaign closing ceremony in the capital, Harare. More than 10,000 people, many of them dressed in bright yellow, gathered to provide the last sign of support for the opposition leader before the elections. The demonstration was the end of thought campaign in which 30,000 of campaign meetings of candidate Nelson Chamisa were banned, and some of his supporters were attacked by alleged activists of ZANU-PF, the ruling party. In his speech, Chamisa assured that he will be victorious and that he is the only guarantee for a better future, although the latest polls show him below his opponent.
Go and vote for your future. Go and vote for opportunity. Go and vote for happiness. Go and vote for light. We are going to have a president for everyone. We are going to have a government for everyone. We are going to have an economy for everyone. We are going to make a Zimbabwe to be a Zimbabwe for everyone.
On Tuesday, the African Union has suspended Niger from the continental bloc with immediate effect, the latest of a number of sanctions on the West African countries since the last month's COP. The decision, announced after a meeting of AU's Peace and Security Council in the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa, comes after several Western countries cut aid to Niger due to a July 26 COP that overruled President Mohamed Bazoum. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, also imposed sanctions and last week agreed on a D-Day to begin a military intervention throughout an already activated regional strike force. Additionally, the EU said it was reviewing ECOWAS plan of actions and called on all of its member states and the international community to not undertake any action to legitimize Niger's military government. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I am Heidi Mauler. Thank you for watching.
We share your feelings, exalt your accomplishments, and show your reality. Our approach is global and keeps us in tune with the peoples. Caribbean countries also get our signal. With enthusiasm, we will continue to broadcast for them. Because we are TeleSUR, the news broadcaster from South America and the Caribbean. Who's moving the chessmen? What interests and motivate the actors behind each event? The board is deployed there. Critical Move investigates every event from Monday to Friday. Only on TeleSUR.
We are approaching a new era. Technology trends and the massive deployment of new networks. It is just the beginning of what lies ahead in this new decade. Atomun. Travelers of knowledge, the future is today.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Get Your Body. Tuesdays, only on TeleSUR.
It is our duty to reverse the damage we cause to the planet. Let's recover our natural ecosystems with actions in defense of the environment. Let's keep fighting for a greener world. Wednesdays, only on TeleSUR. Every year, thousands of people leave their homeland to reach new horizons. A reality of those people who struggle for their freedom. Know the diverse causes of those who live between borders. Thursdays, only on TeleSUR.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real Life. Fridays. Only on TeleSUR.
El mundo se mueve constantemente y todos los días se generan nuevos sucesos. Se mueve la geopolítica mundial. Nos preguntamos qué hay detrás de cada acontecimiento, cuáles son las consecuencias y cómo nos afectan. Ante estas preguntas, buscaremos poner el punto en la I.
Hello viewers, it's a pleasure to greet you. I'm Paola Perez and this is Critical Moves. Citizen Revolution continues being the leading political force in Ecuador. Not only did its duo, Luisa Gonzalez and Andres Arauz, have been the most voted one, they have also added more assembly members in these general and early elections. Also, let us remember that Correísmo now has 49 municipalities and 9 prefectures, a process that developed normally with an 88% participation that has exceeded statistics of other processes in the first round. Today, we will analyze the impact of the elections in the midst of the security crisis that this Andean nation is going through and what political scenarios are opening up. Let us make our first critical moves. Next October the 15th, there will be a presidential runoff election in Ecuador. Luisa Gonzalez and Daniel Noboa will once again face each other at the polls. The law establishes that in the event that Congress is dissolved, a scenario that applies to Ecuador, the elected members of Congress must be installed 15 days after the official results are proclaimed. The victory of Ecuador, that a woman gets such a high percentage in the first round, winning the elections to be the president of the Republic of Ecuador and lead the destiny of the country. Thank you. Thank you very much to my beloved country. Thank you to the young people. Thank you to the women, to the men, to all those who have trusted in the Citizen Revolution and in Luisa Gonzalez. We are celebrating, there is no doubt. We're celebrating because we are making history because although many of us have been made invisible, today we are beginning to mark a different story with faith, with hope, and with optimism. As of tomorrow, we have to start working again. We have to campaign again. There's a second round. We still did not achieve the objective, which is the presidency of the Republic. What we have done is to pass to second round, for which I want to congratulate my team. The homeland is back. Today is proof of it. We want freedom, we want peace, we want change. We have very important challenges coming. Keep working door to door, keep building and informing people. We know what we have to do for this next government. Let us review the results of the elections in Ecuador. The president of the National Electoral Council, Diana Atamind, announced that on the election day held on Sunday, August the 20th in Ecuador, the candidate of the Citizen Revolution Movement Party, Luisa Gonzalez, led the elections with 33.31% of the votes in her favor, while businessman Daniel Noboa of the National Democratic Action Political Party received 23.6% of the votes. In third place was journalist Christian Zurita, the replacement of Fernando Villavicencio, with 16.5%, leaving in fourth place businessman Jan Topic with 14.6% of the votes. The highest authority of the National Electoral Council informed that these results oblige Ecuadorians to go on a second round of elections scheduled for October the 15th. In order to win in this runoff, it is necessary to obtain more than 50% of the valid votes or 40% over the closest rival. Meanwhile, the votes given to the National Assembly members were led by the political party Citizen Revolution as well, to which the heiress of former President Correa Luisa Gonzalez belonged, with 39.37%, followed by Building Movement with 20.66% of the votes, and in third place, National Democratic Actions with 14.67%. The country went to rush to early elections because President Guillermo Lasso dissolved the legislative branch and call elections of the ballots. Therefore, the next president will govern to complete Lasso's presidential term until 2025. The president of the National Electoral Council stated that she appreciated the democratic attitude of the candidates in recognizing the result and accepting the second round, taking into account that it is something similar to what happened in 2021 elections, on one side Correa sympathizer and on the other the economic and business elite. Now we offer a detailed explanation of the proposals of the two remaining candidates to go to runoff, Luisa Gonzalez and Daniel Noboa. Lawyer Luisa Gonzalez was leading the popularity polls as the only woman in the presidential race in Ecuador. She is 45 years old. She has a master's degree in international economics, and she has a long experience in public administration during the government of former President Correa. This candidate will declare in her political proposal absolute transformation in the context of violence and argues that Ecuador is living its bloodiest period. This is due to the total abandonment of an inept government and a state taken over by mafias, and she promised that her mandate will have as a priority to allocate substantial budgets to strengthen the country's security. During the campaign, Gonzalez declared that she was proud of the economic legacy given to her by her chief advisor, Rafael Correa. If the political movement Citizen Revolution wins, it would mark the return of Correísmo to the presidency, a movement that governed for a little more than a decade until 2017. Luisa Gonzalez refers that the objective of her government plan is totally focused on achieving a good life and a fair and egalitarian democracy with a plurinational and intercultural state of rights and justice, which promotes freedom, capacity, and aspirations in a solidarity society. On the other hand, the candidate Daniel Noboa surprised everyone with his percentage on the ballot votes because the polls did not reflect his popularity and did not give him hope to remain in the race after Sunday. This candidate will also be on the ballot on October the 15th, represent the National Democratic Actions Party, and it is a former legislator. He also has a degree in sciences from the University of New York and another in business administration from the same university. The presidential candidate is 35 years old, which means that his victory will make him the youngest president in the history of Ecuador. He is a son of a five-time presidential candidate, Alvaro Noboa. He has proposals that focus on competitive economy through the tax system, fuel, water, and electricity. Noboa is in favor of the militarization of borders, and one of his most important proposals was the creation of 5 prisons for minor crimes. Noboa affirms that the communities near oil exploitation zones deserve immediate attention from the state, with public investment and education giving them real opportunities for development. Noboa presented himself as a businessman with social responsibility who will promote the arrival of foreign investment. Both will have an extended time of 1 month to exercise their political campaign before the ballot, and that the Ecuadorian people return to the polls to vote for the next president of the nation. Let us add updated information with our correspondent Hector Calderon from Quito, the capital of Ecuador. He's live. What can you tell us 1 day after these early elections? What is the overview of a country that is plunged into a security crisis? Welcome. Greetings. It is a pleasure to greet you from Ecuador. Today, my country is very peaceful, something really strange, taking into account the violent climate the country has been experiencing over the last weeks. Within our national territory, we had a very well-organized electoral process. We clarify this because we did have problems with the online voting process for Ecuadorians abroad. Inside the country, there were no incidents. Elections took place as expected and scheduled. Polling stations closed at 5 p.m., and the results were ready by 9:30 p.m. Something which should certainly highlight is the political maturity the rest of presidential candidates have shown so far. Above all, the 6th candidate who did not make it to runoff elections: Oro Sones Holzner, Jan Topic, Javier Hervás, Bolívar Arrijos, and Yacu Perez. They all offered declarations to the media to acknowledge their defeat and the democratic spirit of the Ecuadorian people. It is also worth saying that more than 80% of the voting population went to the polling stations on Sunday, August 20th, which expressed the feeling of all Ecuadorian citizens who hope for a better future. They want to be active participants of the change, and they want to save the country from corruption, violence, and organized crime. We visited a lot of polling stations, mainly here in Quito, and we could not help but notice that there was a significant numbers of elder citizens who went there and voted. In Ecuador, mandatory vote is for citizens between the ages of 18 and 65. Regardless, elder citizens went there and exercised their right to vote. This is yet another expression of what our society wants. We want change and stability, precisely what we expect of the presidential candidates to participate in the runoff next October the 15th. We sincerely hope to have a peaceful second electoral period and campaigns without any clashes or security problems, let alone the assassination of any of the 2 candidates, like it happened to Fernando Villavicencio. We need to focus in the immediate future of our country in the next 14 to 16 months, during which the winning candidate will have to rule and restore stability after Guillermo Lazo's government. Many questions remain about the National Assembly. According to the first counting process, Citizen Revolution Movement would hold a partial majority with around 55 seats in the Congress. followed by national democratic actions and building movement, both with a considerable number of seats as well as the Social Christian Party. It is yet to be determined when the National Assembly would be definitely established. According to our democratic code, it should happen 15 days after the National Electoral Council presents the final results of the first electoral round. A new Congress would begin to function under Laza's administration and would be operating for the runoff election. Well, this is the overview of Ecuador today. As we said earlier, there's calm and peace, and above all, there's a feeling that in the end of the day, Ecuadorian democracy has been the ultimate winner here. We can see a brighter future ahead. We would like to thank our correspondent, Hector Calderon. Thank you very much. Let us mark the first pause in our critical moves. We share our strategic move with you, along with the invitation to follow us on our active Twitter accounts, at Jugada Crítica, at Paola P. TeleSUR. Citizen revolution remains the main political force in Ecuador. What is the message of a country plunged into a security crisis whose president dissolved the Congress and governs by decree? What geopolitical scenarios open up on the way to the presidential runoff? Participate with us. When we return, we will be submitting the issue to analysis. We will be back in no time. Let us review how Ecuador is doing since Guillermo Lasso took office. When Guillermo Lasso assumed the presidency of Ecuador on May the 24th, 2021, he received a country hard hit by the pandemic and an economic contraction of almost 88%. However, 2 years later, President has failed to win the approval of the citizens. According to a survey by the private firm Opinion Profiles published in early May, only 13.13% of Ecuadorians approve of his administration. In addition, we have the fact that Lasso has not been able to fulfill some of his campaign promises, such as the generation of 1 million jobs. According to the National Institute of Statistics and Census, unemployment in Ecuador will be 3.9% in 2023, which represents 397,645 unemployed people. In rural areas, the percentage of informal workers increased from 70 to 73%, reflecting the state's neglect of the agricultural sector. Meanwhile, the level of poverty is around 25.2%. According to the latest data from the Statistics and Census Institute, 8.2% of the population lives in extreme poverty, while inflation stands at 2.4%. In relation to public health, Ecuadorians have constantly complained about a very deficient attention. They denounce the lack of medicines of all kinds, from the basic ones to the most complex ones, for rare or catastrophic diseases. Another of the president's failures is in the area of security. To date, he has not been able to articulate actions to stop the massacres in prisons, nor has he been able to reduce the growing crime and violence in the streets throughout the country. According to official sources, Ecuador closed 2022 with 4,550 crimes and a rate of 25 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. The situation positions the country
as one of the most violent ones in the region. Now in 2023, the Andean nation is going through a serious political crisis. The Assembly opened a political trial against Lasso after accusing him of embezzlement of public funds, since he allegedly had knowledge of acts of corruption committed by officials of his administration who had fraudulently awarded several contracts for the transportation of oil. It was also revealed that he had links with the Albanian mafia through his brother-in-law Danilo Carrera. For his part, the president insisted on his innocence and in response decreed the cross-death of the parliament and dissolved it. After this, he called for early elections which were held on May the 20th, where the candidates for Correísmo, Luisa González, led the results with 33% of the votes. She will now face Daniel Noboa in a run of elections scheduled for October the 15th. We begin analyzing the topic, both from Ecuador, our guests, Stalin Raza, doctor-in-law and constitutional lawyer. Welcome. Thank you for your time. Greetings. We also have Juan Carlos Torres Aguirre, former legislative advisor, and he's a lawyer as well. It is a pleasure to have you both, so we are able to understand better what's happening in Ecuador now. Welcome. It's a pleasure to be here with you again. I would like to begin with Dr. Juan Carlos Torres. We know the results. The National Electoral Council has made it official. Now we have this fight between Luisa González and Daniel Noboa. Let's remember that with this result, Luisa González, Correísmo, achieves the higher number of seats in Congress. So the question is, what is the future of current President Guillermo Lasso? Let's remember he has a pending impeachment. He decreed cross-death, but if law is applied, if the democratic code is applied, Correísmo congressmen are a majority. And then, once they are in place, the big question is, can this impeachment be reopened? There has been a denounce on the murder of Villavicencio as well. I know these are two different topics, but we can cover them both. Indeed. I would like to say that promoters of his impeachments were Correa supporter congressmen. Now, President Guillermo González played the card of the cross-death. Now this impeachment could be reopened. Correísmo could have between 50 and 55 congressmen, which is a number more than enough to continue with any process. And of course, we also need to have into account that Ecuadorian people never approved President Guillermo Lasso. So, there's a void. We need to make some consultations because these early elections are kind of new for us. Once we need to solve this case once the once the runoff are completed. The legislative power, I mean. This is very interesting because these congressmen would exercise their powers during Guillermo Lazo's government before the next president. We also have Dr. Stalin Raza. It is important to make a reading of these results. Correísmo remains the main political force in the country. Luisa González wins the majority. There's enough run of election, it's true, but we also have alliances in the horizon. What kind of alliances do you think Luisa González could form? However, Daniel Noboa says he's not going to make alliances with any other party. Are the predictions fulfilled? I would like to begin with something I believe it's necessary. You ask a question to my colleague. You ask what was the future of Guillermo Lazo. I would like to begin by that answer. I believe that Guillermo Lazo deserves the darkest place in our history because of his government. And I say this because of the judicial consequences this may have. It is true that if the Congress is established days before the second electoral round are proclaimed, in theory, the impeachment may proceed because President Lazo decreed a cross death in a fraudulent movement. We need to make some numbers as well to know if we have the necessary votes to proceed with the process. Apparently, according to the numbers we have for the next Congress, we're not going to have the numbers. We don't need to we need to be careful and not allowing political alliances that support Lazo. Beyond that, from a symbolic perspective, Lazo deserves the darkest place in our history. The second question, I believe it is a very I don't think it is a very intelligent move from Noboa to declare that he's not going to make any alliances. Despite the unexpected enthusiasm his candidacy and his campaign produced, he's not going to grow. His candidacy is not going to skyrocket as he might be thinking. So I believe he would need indeed alliances. Costos que no los tiene, por ejemplo, la Revolución Ciudadana, costos que no los tiene la candidata Luisa González, porque todo el mundo conoce perfectamente. Now, it is different with a citizen revolution because everybody knows her political origins. Que considere la necesidad de plantear un país alternativo a la propuesta del señor Noboa. Now, of course, Luisa González proposes an alternative, and he's going to privilege social sectors. Dr. Raza, we need to explore the alliances, the possible alliances. For example, who might be interested in coming closer to Correísmo and who might be closer to to democratic action. It is not the same to direct companies than a country. Absolutely. That's why I believe citizen revolution, with a very well-established political origins, needs to begin as building bridges, communication bridges with social sectors. The youth, the progressive movement, ecologist movement, feminist movement, indigenous movements as well, very important in our country. They have been invisible for so long now. We need to be aware of something. Along with the elections, there was a public consultation about the resources of the country, and the population voted yes, resources must stay on the soil. So they need to develop program agreements to strengthen their origins. Dr. Juan Carlos Torres, about the Yasuní consultation and about the oil exploitation with more than 90% support. What impact will this have in the future of the country and the new government? Economically speaking, we all have it very clear. Only dismounting this plant is going to generate a big expense. The government is going to implement a reform they already had planned, and they will need readjustments. Well, not counting on these oil profits is going to be very complicated for the coming government. This was a topic. This topic was not very well dealt with on the presidential debate. Let's hope that either Luisa González or Daniel Novoa